went out, they were in the $4 million range, okay? We don't have the final numbers yet, but in 2026, we're gonna put out a new bond. We're gonna be 9-ish, 10-ish million just from our capital budget. So our debt service, which we have to pay off every year, could jump considerably. It could be several $100,000 more each year that we're paying in debt service as we roll out this new bond. So I say this only to reiterate that this is not a problem we can tax ourselves out of. I don't think that there's enough money we can ever get from tax raises. Not that we want to put this on the burden of the existing residents, but we have to get very serious about finding ways to generate new revenue. And so there's not the time or place to discuss it, but as we meet as a council, I think that getting very serious about redevelopment is something we're going to have to do, just because we need to make this money up. We're going to need a lot in new tax revenue to kind of get our fund balance back to a neutral place. Until we do that, we just have to be incredibly responsible with how we're spending our money. So to that, I'll just turn quickly to the capital budget. Last year and the year before, we went line by line. What I'd like to do is just kind of summarize the Finance Committee's findings and recommendation, and then potentially discuss a few key issues that will make the budget relatively small or relatively large within kind of what we talked about. So
just let's make sure everybody's all right with the way we're going to be operating.
Yeah. Okay. And then obviously, if there's questions on a specific line item, raise it. We're not committing to anything tonight, right? So we have still a month to 6 weeks to get through this, but I think it's going line by line can get very tedious, and if we can, I'd like to just focus on a few key issues. So the way that the capital budget worked, Steve and Colleen and Matt kind of asked all the department heads to put together their needs for infrastructure, for equipment, and kind of list these as needs to have or wants, right? And they did a really nice job of pulling all that together. When we received the capital budget, it was around $5 million, right? So for the purposes of giving you our expectations, last year we spent $4 million because of the fire truck, and we said to ourselves, we really ought to be below $2 million for the next 5 years to kind of make up for that excess that we spent. So we went into this conversation hoping that we were going to be around the $2 million mark in capital expenditures. We got it at 5, and we immediately made some recommendations on things that we could pull out this year. So if you look at your list, in rows 13 through 15, you'll see things like the roof at the administration building, roof at the public safety building, each equating about $100,000. We kind of checked with everybody. We can move those off for a year or two. We don't have to spend that tonight. Second floor renovations last year, we were estimating were going to be about $120,000, and we thought to ourselves, we could certainly charge the board an appropriate rent to kind of offset those costs, but the estimate may come back at $400,000. And as a result of that massive increase, we're going to make the recommendation to kind of put that project on hold. If the council agrees, we'll have to have a conversation with the board, soon. So we really do kind of need a consensus on this one. Now, yeah. But it's a $400,000 spend. So when we get through all of this, and then maybe we can come to that one first. We looked at road resurfacing. Now, the superintendent, Mike Latour, submitted about, I want to say 40 to 50% more than we do in a typical year for road resurfacing. So we went back to him and asked him whether there were roads on that list that could wait another year and bring that to a level that we're comfortable with. So we were able to kind of remove a couple of roads and put about $250,000 out of that budget and bring it down to about $490,000 to $500,000. So we were going to cut about $250,000 out of that as a recommendation. And then there were a number of smaller ticket items on here that were listed as wants by each department. So the inflow and infiltration from the DPW for $100,000. I think that's something that we could have a discussion about pulling out. The pagers for the fire department sounds a little bit more like a want than a need. I know it's a small number, but it is what it is. The shed for storage under the fire department. I think another big topic, another big item that we should discuss tonight is the range roof and HVAC system at the police department. That's a $500,000 expense. I have it in here for the purposes of telling you kind of where we're at financially, but I think we should discuss potentially bringing that out. When we remove the items that we recommended, this brings the net debt that we would roll out to about 3.3 million. So this is assuming that we get grants, this is a big assumption, right? So there's risk, but it's assuming that we get half of the property on Wyckoff Ave paid for through grants. We don't have that money yet, so it's an assumption. I think there's a level of comfort that we could get it, but there is risk there. I'm assuming that grant's gonna offset some of this debt, and it brings us to 3.3 million in net debt. So what we're looking at is potentially three items we need to debate. The first being the Borough Hall renovations here, which I have excluded in the 3.3 million, right? We should discuss the range roof, and we should discuss Lions Park, which is 700,000. So we're at 3.2. I think Finance Committee would love for us to get lower. As I said, we're really looking at rolling out a very large bond in 2 years. So I think the more that we can do to bring this down, the better off we're going to be in the long run. So that is kind of my spiel. Mayor, how should we go through this? Should we just start maybe with the second
Maybe we
quarter?
should have Steve,
Sure.
Matt, and Colleen just put
Sure.
some, and then your committee if they want to talk. They're the ones that really put the budget
Perfect.
together.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So I think kind of maybe the first thought we should look is the second quarter renovations. Just discuss that, see which direction we want to go. So I guess to kind of open it up, I did adjust that slightly today. We have some money still from last year's allocation left over, so I dropped it a little bit to 350 instead of 400. Not much of a change, but I guess that's kind of the big question. Is we're really at a point. We have a bid out, it's ready, bid opening scheduled for March 1st. So we really need to make a decision if we want to move forward. It is semi-open-ended, I guess, in the fact that we can wait to see where the bids come in. If they come in low and we could get to a number that the health commission would be in agreement to, we could certainly move forward with it, if you wanted to go that direction, or we can pull it off completely.
How did we get the original price? I mean, where'd that come from compared to 400,000? I mean, what did we design extra that it warranted it to be so high or brought up higher?
I don't know the exact origins of the original construction estimate, but I know it was put in at about 125,000, and I think what was bought for is 114,000. The architect alone was, I think, somewhere in the range of 20,000, kind of right.
I think furniture was included probably in the. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, one of the big things I guess that was unexpected was the furnishings, which was, I'll say, a loose agreement, at least agreed upon informally, was to fully furnish the space also. So we did a whole proposal for that, and it came in at about $92,000, I think, just for furnishings.
With the expectation that it be built into their rent, and they end up paying for it over 5 years.
Right.
So in 5 years, we'll recoup what we put into this.
For the just for the furniture.
Correct.
Did they ever tell us what they were comfortable with and paying for rent?
No.
We could do the math to say, well, if you're only comfortable with 4, and it's gonna be 6.
I think what they had kind of laid out really rough numbers and not incorporating everything, the all-in costs. It came out to, I want to say it was like $1,800 a month, which seems like a very reasonable rental rate for a commercial space, really, is what it is. So now, with the construction costs coming in at about $300,000, that spikes that.
So rather than keep leaving them high and dry, the recommendation was to go back to them and say, the costs are much higher, this is what we would need in rent. We don't want to leave you out in the dust, but the math has to work for us. And I don't think they'll pay it, but at the very least, we can.
Well, if you're gonna do that, you gotta also incorporate, they're taking up a lot of spots in our lot.
Yeah.
And we didn't anticipate having a trailer, and I mean, I have nothing against the Board of Health, but what do we pay them, $100,000 a year? That's a lot of money. And now they're using our building, I mean, they're gonna pay us rent, but 18, that's not a lot of money.
No, so we think that, the rent's gonna have to go up to beyond what they'd be comfortable paying, but we should at least offer that, since they're expecting it, but I don't anticipate them, I mean, we're talking about 5 times that
Yes.
number, right?
Well,
Correct.
I think you're gonna have to talk things very fast, because what's going on with their property there, they're gonna lose their lease.
Steve, you said maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, I kind of, put it out there to them that we need to have a discussion immediately after tonight's conversation. They kind of know we need to meet tomorrow.
So I just wanna make sure I'm running the numbers right, so we're looking at a 33-year payback on that space? at
Well,
1,800
so
bucks.
that's the other piece of it, sorry, I
Sure.
should have mentioned that. It's actually based on a 10-year agreement, so it's not even spread out that far.
So 10 years is a lot more than 1,800.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, because if they're gonna pay over 5 years, the amortization of the CapEx for all the equipment, that's about that's $18,000 a year out of the 92, plus then another $1,800 a month, they'll be paying $36,000 a year to rent the space that, and we're still gonna pay
I
them
was gonna say
100,000.
45.
Yeah, that's on the low end.
That's
45.
on the low, yeah, I'm being
Yeah.
strictly on the low end.
Very
45.
conservative.
And then we're still gonna have to pay $100,000 a year to use the services.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct,
Sounds
So,
good to you.
My math, that doesn't work.
to utilize.
There's a lot of mental gymnastics to get to a good number.
I don't wanna go after them, but I think we should just tell them, stay where you are.
What would it cost to
Well,
get
it
the
might
county
be,
in?
Well, that's another thing that I spoke
Yes.
with Steve about, and I've been trying to do that for a couple of years now. And we're all gonna, since we're on the subject, and you did ask, I've asked Steve, we're gonna set up an exploratory committee to look into this. Because we don't have a 3-year, agreement with them this year, we only have a 1 year, so we're tied into until the end of this year. And the thing is, we have to worry about our pockets. I mean, they've been worrying about their pockets, and, I mean, $100,000 is a lot of money. And, you know, which I found out the other day, you know, you got another town that's right next door to us, they only pay 50,000. Now, I don't think we have more people than them, and they are here. So I think that we have to really look, first we have to let them know what we wanna do, then we have to let them realize that we might not be able to have them as our Board of Health, we might have to go through, we are gonna look, I would like to look into the county.
I just don't see how this is a viable option.
Yeah.
I really don't. When you run the numbers, even on the low side.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't see it as a reasonable alternative.
Right.
And as to your point, I don't think we need to keep them on the hook.
No.
Because we don't wanna do that.
No.
But, you know, there's a stop in the road, and there it is. This can't happen, in my opinion.
It's a lot, it's a lot.
But the only thing is, we have to, you know, once again, we have to tell them their vehicles have to be removed, or if they wanna keep them here, they have to pay us. I mean, we live in a world now that services, you know, you give service, you wanna get paid.
Okay,
Can
so,
you tell us how much they were paying in rent, Steve? I know you asked that question.
I asked and I did not receive the information I was looking for.
on the vehicles and the storage, maybe as an olive branch, we give them a month to relocate?
Oh, yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. And then if they wanna use our facilities, then we'll figure out an agreement how much they have to pay. I mean, where did they keep these vehicles before?
Yeah, that's a good
They
question.
did not have these vehicles.
Oh, so because they think they're coming here, they bought everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
Without an agreement.
Without an agreement.
Wow.
So, just so I have it clear, is there a consensus that, you know, tomorrow I have a discussion with them, kind of lay out the picture of where we are,
Yeah.
what we're thinking, but it is semi-open-ended, maybe based on the bids? Since
Yeah,
it's out there already, or do you,
I think we should just
we
cancel.
could cancel?
Yeah, because that's out there. They're out there. Have you gotten anything back?
The bid date's not till March 1st, the walkthrough's not till February 20th, so it's hard to know.
So right now, the only amount of money we're out is the 20,000 that we did for architecture and drawings.
Correct.
I mean, do we have an idea, square footage wise, in Walwood, what the average price per square foot for office commercial?
So actually got an updated number today, just based on a revale meeting, I think it's about $50 per
And how
square.
many square foot is that space up there?
I don't think I have that in front of me, but I could borrow for that.
It's about the length of this, right?
Pretty much.
And then about 12, about the width of the room downstairs.
It's a big room,
29.
right?
Yeah.
Big room.
Wanna say 1,200, but we don't hold them for that.
I think either we say to them, thank you very much, but we're not interested anymore. To tell them that we're gonna wait for bids to come in, it's crazy. We're just prolonging what's
I
gonna
agree.
happen.
I agree, prolonging is not the thing. to
Yeah, they
do.
have to figure out what they have to do now.
We gotta, we have to,
I mean,
Wow.
in the spirit of fairness, could you wait for the bids and be like, well, it's great? I mean,
Right, bid spec says it's 1,479 square feet.
1479.
About
I mean-
60 grand a year.
For a good faith, do it that way, or just say no?
That's just for the space.
That's just a
That
space.
doesn't count, that doesn't add in all of our utilities
Right.
and all the other things Matt was
Administrative
gonna
costs like
add in,
cleaning,
yeah.
things like
Because that was something that we had asked, and we didn't really get a clear answer on when we were discussing it
Now,
last.
you didn't order the furniture yet.
No,
No,
No.
nothing's,
No.
we've just been compiling all the numbers.
I think if you tell them it's more than 60,000 a year, and the council just
As a
couldn't see
base.
a pay, yeah, as
Yeah.
like the bottom, we just didn't see a path forward.
Um, yeah. And just to note, that leaves us with $85,000 to fix up the space, kinda as it is. Staff has done an amazing job cleaning out, organizing,
Yeah.
files and everything, so we can do some work to maybe match carpet, sheet rock, paint it.
We can make it like a conference room, another conference room, we can make it a training center. You know, like people have we have classes and stuff like that.
and I would very much like to use it for a polling place
Mhm.
because it's more open than this site.
Okay.
So that would be, so that we can put more machines, cause I can only fit so many machines in here. So I mean, I would greatly appreciate that.
That sounds, it'll be used more with us than with them. Everybody in agreement?
Yes.
Okay, I'll follow up with them early tomorrow and update them.
Oh, Katie, you all right with this?
Yeah, I'm in agreement, thank you.
Okay,
So just, that puts us at 3.2 now.
Okay.
Should we talk about Lions?
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you wanna jump to Lions? It's kind of the next big one. So, the number that's in there right now is 780,000. That's probably on the high side. I think our engineering costs will actually be less than what we have listed there. It's just based on 20%. Now, there's also different proposals within that number too. So this is the high number, which would be the poured rubber, base, which would make it, fully accessible. There's also $30,000 added in there for added fencing and gates around the area. So, there is some play there. If you wanted to go, just maintain the wood mulch that's there, it drops the cost significantly. However, I would just like to note, I wouldn't recommend going that way. I think if we're gonna do it, we should make it fully accessible, and in compliance, with the new laws that are out there with
Yep.
ADA.
our community uses that park a lot. And I think that, to deprive the kids and the residents of using the park, it's not really, I mean, you're talking about a couple of bucks here and there with the right way to do it. I mean, it hasn't been done in a long time. And I can't speak for the Lions Club, but, you don't know, they might start doing fundraising or kick in some stuff to us, we don't know. We haven't got that far with them, but they've always been very generous with parks for us.
So we have our first scoping meeting with the engineer, and some staff next Wednesday to discuss this project and really lay out maybe a rough concept of what we're looking to do, kind of go over everything. So the number can change a little bit. Like I said, I think this is definitely on the high side. We're also anticipating, Matt could go in a little bit more on the grants, but we have some grant money set aside for it. We could probably knock it down even a couple $100,000 more.
So right now we have about 160,000 in committed grants, to the project. I would hope that number would double, this year. I'm a little less certain about the NJDCA grant because that's going on the second year, so I don't know if they're gonna give us what we got last year, which was 70,000. We got 90,000 from the county. We get that money every year. The amount varies, but around 90,000 is a conservative estimate of what I would expect to get. So on the low end, I think you're adding another 90,000 to it. On the high end, 160. You know, Steve and I are gonna be looking for playground and manufacturing grants to try to get more, maybe get up to 200,000, but I would, 200,000 additional, but I would say doubling that, I would expect to happen, hopefully. The lowest end would be half of what's already there. But and with the NJDCA money, that, you know, it's use it or lose it, the county money is use it or lose it, so if you don't use it, it can't be allocated to any additional projects.
And the grants that you're speaking of are not contingent on this $700,000 price tag?
No, so the Bergen County open space grants, they need to be matched, but the NJDCA grants count towards the match. So hypothetically, if we were awarded another 90,000 from the county, and we had 180 via the match, and we had 140 from the state, we'd only have to put in $40,000 of our own money. I confirmed that with the county.
Okay.
But based on what I expect the price tag would be, there wouldn't be any issues with the matching.
So is that just for playgrounds or is it improvements to open space?
The grant money, I believe it was written for
It's written for the entire project. Like for the DCA, each year has to be a different purchase order. It could be the same project, so one for that would be the playground equipment, another could be for the construction. All of that money can definitely be used for this project. And if we knew there were additional things by, you know, May, we knew, then we would include those specifics on this year's county application.
And then a couple other things to note is the Lions Club has reached out. They're going to be a part of that scoping call next week, just to listen in and hear what some of our ideas are. They think there's a level of involvement there that they might be interested in. And another thing that I want to discuss with them is, you know, beyond funding, which would be fantastic, but as another nonprofit, they might be able to also go after grant funding on our behalf, just through their organization, and contribute that to the project.
But we have the
Another-
final say in everything that's being done in that call.
Right, and we really just want to be comfortable with that all-in number, just in case none of this pans out.
Just I just wanted to add something that I had experienced when I was in Ringwood, is that we did a community build, so that would take that cost out. You have to have somebody from, you know, whoever you get it from, Playtime or whoever, come, but you get members of the community, maybe the Lions Club could have their volunteers come, other volunteers could come and actually build the playground. And it's really a great community activity. You do it kind of over a 2-day, like a weekend. And it was a really great project. So, and that was a way that we were able to cut some of the costs for installation.
They send somebody to direct.
They send somebody to direct. So Playtime, he would be like the manager, and he would kind of direct people, knowing what abilities they had, because we had a lot of carpenters, so they knew how to do certain things, and other people did, you know, things that they knew how to do. DPW were the ones who did the concrete work ahead of time. So it really was a whole community involvement, and it was a good weekend. So just food for thought. Just to cut costs if you were looking, you know, to do that.
Is there a pathway to this costing 500,000 instead of 700,000?
I honestly, without making any guarantees, I think we could probably get there.
Yeah. I think, just personally, I'd be comfortable with 500,000 if we're comfortable with a 300,000 offset on grants. Then it's only a 200,000 spent to us to spend. For like the mayor said, it's not a resource that the entire community uses.
We will get working.
Anybody
On
else
that
have any
project,
questions?
Steve, when is that scheduled when will we schedule to start it and finish it?
The estimated timeline would be have the project done by Memorial Day of next year. We would go out for bids, most likely in the fall, and have them start possibly before the winter, if not from March to late May is when it will be finished.
So some of that expenditure won't really cash flow wise happen until.
Well, you need to have the capital money allocated with this budget cycle, because you wouldn't be able to fund the project with next year's funds if you want it done next Memorial Day.
And it's the entire location over there, right? Like, there's like 3 parks.
There's like 3 separate
Three
areas
separate
based
little
on
parks,
age.
And it'll be all one cohesive park.
No, this is
No.
a line, this is a
Just
this is a
Lions.
wooden line.
The wooden part.
No, not that's the handicap.
Just the wooden
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
The other one is, yeah, that's in a handicap accessible one.
That one in the back, and then there's the original one.
This
Which
is just a
in
line.
the future will probably need some attention.
Wasn't the fencing though supposed to go all around the whole thing, or that was just for lions?
Lions never had a fence. The problem was a lot of parents were complaining about
Yeah.
there's no fence. And we just, unfortunately, what we said was that, if you're in the park with your child,
Well, it's far enough away from the.
well, we wanna make sure that, that was a big thing, so if you're gonna,
Yeah, so the fence would
if
be
you're gonna
there,
do the park over again, you should put the fence in, so it's a safety issue for everybody.
So recap, you're hoping to get 200 from grants and how much of it?
3 from grants and
And
500,000 on total spend. So this brings our net tally down to just a hair above 3 million for CapEx. Again, there's a lot of assumptions here, right? So we're assuming 150,000 in extra grants for Lions Park. We're anticipating roughly 1.2 million in grants to purchase the property. Those are, and there's risk there, right? It's not guaranteed.
Risk square.
We're not guaranteed the grants.
Oh,
Right.
I got you. Okay. Everybody all right?
Yep, let's move forward.
Okay, maybe just touch on roads real quick.
Sure.
You kind of talked about it. I know we had a healthy budget to start, but just some quick notes on that. After speaking with our DPW superintendent, felt it was okay for the 5 roads, the last 5 roads on the list, to take that out. So that was actually, got us down to 533,000 about, and then we actually also have around 138,000 in a trust, from PSE&G for road paving projects. So that actually got us down to about 395,000. So we put it in at 400,000, and actually I think we have about 49,000 left from 2023, so that might even drop a little bit more. So there's a little play there. We might want to add a few more roads if we can, but just to kind of put that out.
Yeah, I was gonna say those last 2, or if you look at the bottom 5, take off the bottom 3, those really where the dollars are. 19 and 24,000, 44,000 to get much more residents happy. Might be worth it. It's not a lot of money that we're saving on those 2 small roads.
So these numbers were the DPW superintendent's very detailed estimation, so we'd have to really go at it and see where we're at, but I think we can probably do it.
I mean, the roads that we're not gonna do, they're not in this, they're not really bad shape.
Yeah, the list that was provided is in priority order, so the worst are at the very top.
Okay.
And actually, the top 5 are the ones that PSE&G money is dedicated to.
Okay. And we're not touching Hudson. Okay.
It's still on the
Hudson's on the list. Good.
Correct.
Good.
but I thought Hudson was
Hudson-
part of
no,
it.
Hudson and
Hudson,
Bonner.
Hudson and Bonnet are
No,
getting
they're
done.
You'll be the one.
They're done, they're getting done.
Yeah, those are outside of this.
We're gonna
Yeah,
change that street.
it's a different
We're gonna
discussion.
change Hudson to Matt Street.
Yeah, that doesn't.
All right, so then kind of just going down, there's sprinkler improvements, which really we have to do. We've had some water issues and sprinkler issues.
Where's
The
that?
ADA ramps,
Oh, here you
we really need to
I got
do. There's a couple things that will need some follow-up. So Malcolm Street pump renovations, we have money there. We're just waiting on an updated construction estimate from the engineer, which we should have hopefully by the end of the week, if not early next week. We had money there that we ended up eating into this year due to an emergency, so that cut that number back a little bit. And the design cost for that one was pretty significant, around $85,000. We did award that, and it's currently under design, so we should have a solid idea within the next week on that one, and so we could zero in on that a
And
little bit more.
we have no more problems with the water problems in the back, downstairs in the back window. That comes on the side of the building. Remember, we always have to worry about
rainwater?
The river?
Is that all
Have
right,
you
the
been having
river?
any issues?
Are we all right with that? I mean, is there
All right.
anything we
Last
could
couple
do?
stuff?
Do you need to put some
They-
money to figure that out?
Not right now, I would say.
We
We've
just
been all
wing
right
it.
the past couple
We're winging it.
rainstorms. Yeah.
Okay.
it might be something that needs to be addressed in the future.
Maybe the council will have to go out and get sandbags.
Yeah, we put extra sandbags out, it seems to be helping. But
We're going with that
definitely
for
not
now.
the long-term solution.
But that should be addressed sometime.
Yes.
Something about pictures like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going down, the mini excavator, I know DPW's been asking for this, it actually includes a flail mower attachment too. This would be split, so there's 57.5 in general cap and then another 57.5 in water. I think it's necessary, speaking to them, there's gonna be a lot of water work, they're doing the lead line replacement work and testing. So to have this machine, I think would help us in a lot of areas, especially with some of the water and flooding work that we're planning, you know, in various swells and things like that. I think it's a useful tool for the DPW.
On that note, with lead line replacement, are there grants available to offset possibly the capital to do those improvements?
There is, don't exactly know what's out there. A lot of the money is going to overburdened communities.
Yeah, I know that.
So there's a lot of people, it's all mandated, so there's a
That's
lot
why
of
I asked, because I know
municipalities.
Newark gets a lot of money, Passaic gets a lot of money, Patterson's getting a lot of money, but
We don't necessarily
fluid-
qualify for all that money.
And the lead work that you're doing, the services from the main to the customer's card box?
Correct.
Okay, so it's
State
our
mandated.
stuff,
And it's,
yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
state mandated, so
Well-
we would at least be responsible from the
Yeah.
main
'Cause
to the
there's-
curb box.
There's also some other state mandates that require all the way up to the meter.
Correct.
And the municipality portion, they were unclear about
Correct.
how it was gonna be paid.
So it's kind of this unknown that
Yeah.
we're aware of, but we
Whether they
don't.
were gonna they were gonna have the municipality would do the work and then split it, or if the customer hired a plumber to do the work, split it with the town. It was like
Second one was an assessment, they'll
Yeah.
pay it back.
It was a weird gray area, they couldn't give an answer on that, and that was last year, they could, I don't know if they've got any updates, didn't seem like it.
We haven't heard any updates.
Okay.
And the concern is that,
Because with a ratepayer, like with us with ratepayers, they're spreading it over with the ratepayers, but municipalities, they were like, we don't know.
yeah, so kind of a question mark there. And we think as we move closer to the center of town with their work and testing, that we're gonna find more lead lines than we have. It's not a guarantee, I'm not saying that, but there's an assumption there that we might find some.
Should talk about the range.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you wanna just skip right to the range, it's kind of the next big ticket item. So we have,
Before you get there, there was one other in that section. There was one other in that section, which was kind of new, which said reduction if possible, if needed. Was that below?
Lower infiltration.
That happens.
The I&I,
yeah, I wouldn't totally eliminate it necessarily, but I think maybe could cut it back. It's good to have in there. We've discussed doing some I&I work, around Derby, I believe, is the area that there's a concern. We don't know exactly what those costs are gonna be, so we kind of just wanna have some money in there allocated towards it.
I know when I met with the sewer authority, last year, they had said that they have a GIS of the system that they could share with us.
Right.
And that they would assist in the cammering of the lines.
They've been doing a lot with that.
Yeah. So they do have a GIS system already of where all of the stuff is, and then a lot of it includes us.
Right.
Where our lines are, so that's helpful, that's a big expense that the town is not doing.
Yeah.
They did that.
Yeah,
You just have to
in,
contact them for the path, like, to see it, it's a view only
Okay.
thing, you can't edit it, because they don't want anybody touching that asset, so, but you can, they'll give you the password for the view.
and we've always been good with the INR. It's always
Yeah.
been good for them.
And they're on the same page we are with that, because it messes with their plan,
Okay.
with all the
Frustrating,
items,
yeah.
so they're just as eager to get it addressed as we are.
So what are we thinking with that?
So-
You wanna-
So we're back up to 3.1 if we
Yeah.
add I&I back in, just every dollar.
But I think that 100,000 is just kinda like, it might be this.
I think there is some money left over in some other areas that I think we could allocate towards this too. We'll do a little more homework on that one and see where we're truly at. If you want.
Because did we use any of it last year? No.
That's right, exactly,
Yeah.
there is some money that's.
There's definitely,
Yeah. I think a small amount might have been taken out,
Right.
but nothing major. And then, sorry, just to backtrack too on a couple things. So in fire, the pagers, I spoke with them today. I think we could put that on hold for this year. At least that was kind of based on another possible move that is not gonna happen this year. So we take that out. We are hoping to get some grants, so for turnout gear and PPE.
We got 28,000 last year for the ARP grant. We submitted the same application. We should hear back.
Well, that's very important for them to have.
Yeah, I mean, they need it regardless either
Absolutely.
way. So they have to get it either way, but hopefully it essentially wipes the line clear in terms of the expense for the borough.
Okay.
What is this famous shed all about?
Yeah, the shed is just, I guess they're starting to feel squeezed, in the current buildings, so they requested some extra storage space.
First of all, where it's going, and second of all, I think from what I understand, didn't they have to work something out with mutual aid? Did they have a storage area?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to
Do
that.
they have a storage area?
They have an off-site storage area that they share in Hocus. It's a line item on our budget, so.
I think that there might be a broader project, in mind, that may or may not actually work. And I actually tend to think that this is part of, a little piece of that broader project.
That we don't know about.
At this point, it's highly speculative, so I'd say I really don't wish to care, I don't care to comment on that yet, because I don't think it's within the realm of possibility.
But now what do you, I mean,
Therefore,
could we,
I have not been.
we have to listen to Andy.
That's all right, that's all right. I got time.
No, so it's all right.
sorry,
Technical
That's all right.
difficulties.
yeah.
I would like to get a whole lot more information about the whys and the wherefores of needing this
Yeah,
thing.
what's gonna be put in there and where you're gonna put it?
Right off the top of my head, let me just say that I should get more information before I make a decision. My gut is saying no.
For what it's worth, it was listed as a want, so I am not including that in the current calculations.
Right. But did they, when you met, who met with them? You met with them. What are they gonna put there? Did they tell you?
I think the proposed location was behind Station 2 in the parking lot.
Yeah, but now you're taking up spots with cars, and it's limited parking there anyway.
So that's a polling
You got
place.
cars.
Well, one of the more important pieces to this.
What's going in there?
What are you gonna put in?
Yeah.
And,
I mean, if it's firematic stuff, we'll have to look into it. If it's other stuff, that's not our concern.
Yeah, nothing specific was outlined, it was more just for general storage.
yeah,
Overflow.
well, again, my feeling is that based on the needs of the borough, I think this is something that can be pushed off.
Yeah, okay. And they didn't speak to you about this?
They haven't spoken to me about anything, no. No.
Okay.
That's a hard no.
So,
That's a hard no.
but the pages, I mean, what do you wanna do with that? I mean, they do need pages.
The pages you should keep.
But they do need it.
Now,
So,
if you
Well, what
want
did they say to
to,
you?
So the pagers was kind of the initial, it's something that they anticipate they will need, but I think this year they can hold off. It was kind of based on the request to move to a county dispatch. So if that was the direction the borough was gonna take, then they would have had to upgrade. But there does not seem to be a desire to go to county dispatch right now, so that need is not there.
and that's the basis by which they put this line item in?
Correct.
That's the only.
Without talking to us
reason.
about it?
I was gonna say that,
Didn't they talk to us about this?
They have pitched it, there was kind of a proposal, we did a little homework and are on hold
So-
right now.
If
I think it would require further discussion.
So if they go to the county, they're going on a different bandwidth, so then,
Have to upgrade the pages, yeah.
well, different,
And what happens to our
but those,
dispatches?
the pages that they have are
Right.
programmable, so is it outside the bandwidth of the current pagers?
It's a big
Very
discussion,
big
so
discussion.
that's why it's kind of just, that's
Yeah.
on hold for right now.
I mean,
Yeah.
then all our dispatchers, they go home. We don't need them.
There's different variations, I guess you could play with if you wanted to just do fire or shift everybody over, so it's a much larger
We
conversation.
had this discussion once before, and I don't think at the time, I don't know if you were still on the council. The council likes, likes where everything is. Why do we have to go to the county? And I always looked at it this way, when you present something and then we tell you how we feel, I do not like when you say, well, this is what this town's doing. We're not that town. I don't care what the next town is doing. Do we need this? Well, that's a big discussion. That is a very big discussion.
And now, just so you know, too, a little background, I had reached out to other towns that have used the county, did a little homework, little research where the county's at. They're not even quite ready by their own admission to, fully take on. So,
Oh, the county is?
yeah.
Okay.
The Wolverines.
So I had to take a step back unless I didn't get an overwhelming,
The answer is
push
no.
for support.
Hot no.
So that's kind of where that's at.
Hard no.
It's a no.
No.
Next.
All right. So before we get to the pistol range, there's a couple things in the police request. There was one update actually just received today that their body worn camera storage and server, they had originally given us an estimate for $14,000. It actually just came in, they got an updated one based on conversations with our IT company that jumped to $37,000. Just so a little background on that too is the amount of storage it takes for all the body cam footage is a lot. So our IT company feels confident that that $37,000 quote will get us where we need to be and do exactly what we need at a high level for at least 5 years.
And then,
Yeah, and
it's all stored here.
Because the other issue with that too is it's not just the body worn cameras. When they then get an Oprah request, it has to be reviewed and redacted, and that has to be saved separately from the original. So, and then when they send it out, it goes across the web, but it still has to be stored for record storage separately from the original.
All
So
mandated.
it's all mandated,
Yeah, so.
and we're
then
getting a lot of those requests. A
it's
lot of
also
those requests.
combined with what's tucked in that 71 is the 37,000 and then a 5-year lump of subscription fees, which is about $29,000. We don't, if you really wanted to cut it back, we could just go annual with the subscription fees at about 5, but yeah,
That'd be more money.
we're paying it, and there's a benefit, I think, to lumping it, we just have to remember in 5 years that's gonna hit.
Yes.
Who's the IT vendor?
Our new IT vendor is Coben Computer Solutions.
Okay. Is there any affiliation with a company called ESS?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, okay. I'm only asking you that
Yeah.
because my son works there. He's the guy that does the radios. And I didn't know if it was proper for me to sit here and say yes or no.
ESS is a vendor of ours, but to my
Not for
knowledge,
this.
they've never come up with our IT vendor.
Yeah, just for different radio
Yeah,
solutions.
different equipment.
Body armor, they're due for replacements. Replacement weapons, it's time. I think they said they're about 6 years old, so they're looking to do a full swap of all their weapons. What's not included there is there's a possible credit back for selling the old guns, so that would drop that number too, anticipating. Yeah, so I mean, if you wanna jump, that kinda brings us to the pistol range.
We'll go back for just one
Yeah,
second before we do that.
why don't we just do everything and then leave the pistol range for last?
Yeah.
I think that's last.
Well, I mean, if we
No,
have
we
any.
gotta go back to the DPW one.
Yeah, the
Because we had, in our numbers that we're working with, was 5.6 million budget, but the new one has 6 million. And it looks like that basically comes from 4 new lines in the DPW section for electrical upgrades, a single axle roof roll-off chassis, a single axle hydraulic plow setup, and a pickup truck, which is about $250,000 rough estimate right there.
Yeah, that was added in late, so I apologize for that one, but, we could ask for additional info on that, you know.
Yeah. Maybe an inventory of just the items they have would be fair.
Okay.
So we're already $1 million over where I think our comfort level should be. So adding 400 to it is just gonna make our job harder. We came in late. So I love the DPW, but how much do we really need this if they're just submitting it now?
That's why I was wondering if there's even an inventory, just what they have.
Yeah. Could you get back to them on that?
Yeah.
And whatever information they have on the mini that they want
Yep,
would be helpful too.
that,
So we can
yeah,
see
I
what
have that. I
They
have
do,
the
oh,
big
you
one.
have that, okay.
Yeah, so I'll try to compile that for you.
I think it might be necessary as well to go over there and actually take a look at that equipment that they're looking to replace. Because I remember when I was liaison to the DPW, I went over there when they asked for all of this equipment, and granted, I'm going back several years, but I went over there to see what was the problem. And they're showing me holes
Right.
That happened last year.
in things, and they still didn't get it. But nonetheless,
We
I
did
think
that
if it
last
really needs to be done, if you've got holes that you've got
Yeah.
pieces missing,
The only thing
you gotta
that
do
kinda-
it. If you don't, you don't.
We had the original request, and this wasn't in here.
I understand.
Not for nothing.
Yeah, I get that.
You know, not for nothing, to dump in, you know, $300,000 worth of stuff that you didn't know you needed the other day.
I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that, you know,
I mean, it
a
could be very well that there's that there's.
simple walkthrough might
Yeah.
ease the burden
Well,
a
that's why I
bit
said
when you
even
say
just
no.
an inventory list of what they already have
Mhm.
would be helpful.
Okay.
Okay.
Last
we
year-
can follow up with that.
Last year when they asked for a lot of stuff, I went there and I took a tour with them. I have no problem. If you're available Friday, Mark, you
Yeah.
could go there and
Yep.
talk to them about it.
Mhm.
Could you,
Because I'm trying to understand what they're looking to, is it to replace or in
Well, it looks
addition
like-
to?
It looks like they wanna replace 665, and then they wanna also replace 654, right? Am I looking at that right?
Yeah.
So one is a single axle roll-off, just a chassis. But still,
I forgot I have my computer right
and then the
here.
other
I
is
can
the
tell
water
you.
truck. Well, it's a roll-off too. That will-
Where am I?
The roll-up is the one that they can use
Now,
for
if they
both
were-
the,
If they were looking for some equipment, might be helpful is like a single axle dump truck that they can pave with.
Oh, okay.
That's something that we started doing at the water company, we do our own paving.
So we could ask if there's alternatives to.
Cause that would be about the same, you know, you could get a single axle dump truck would be about the same as this, but then they could do like Hudson Street where there's the issue. You can actually box out and pave it yourself. But you'd need a single axle to carry the equipment. But we still,
just wondering if the roll-off is with the mindset that it's modular. You can put on the
I don't
Salter, you can also utilize it
correct,
to do,
that's what they do with that.
and they can also use it to utilize it for the the dumpsters.
You could do that with a single axle dump truck too.
why don't we talk to them
So
about
that
it?
would be, you know, just an option.
Okay.
Cause that was something that we just started, you know, we did in-house. And it was a lot of money doing that.
Okay, and just along the DPW lines, you'll see there are some wants, so I don't know if you wanna just knock those out.
Let's do it. Absolutely. So the 40-yard container?
Yeah, the 40-yard container, you know, the snow machine, the billy goat, are things that would be helpful with their operations. But I think they'd probably wait.
Yes, those are not in the 3 million calculation you currently have.
Right. But it's good that they put them in here, so if they get kicked to next year, we have them, we know them, we have them in our head already.
Right, absolutely.
Okay?
What about Warback, everything's all right with that? They need the pages, that's no problem. Yeah, they need the pages.
Yeah, that was their only request
Okay.
for us.
And that's calculated in.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, the famous pistol range.
Mr. Rain.
Yeah, so I think that brings us to the pistol range.
So I don't have an opinion here, apologies.
More questions
Yeah.
than opinions, I think.
How absolutely necessary is it? It's $500,000, it's a big spend, and I think that I've heard mixed, not opinions, but I've heard mixed feedback on it is required, it's not required. Obviously, safety's an issue when you're talking about HVAC, so we're not sure we're not putting people at risk.
Sure.
Right, that's first and foremost. But it's $500,000, it goes a long way if it's something we can address a year from now, 2 years from now. It really helps us out, so. My
Or
thought,
even kicked a few
I
times.
know it has been, right, but something's getting kicked here, I hope so, I hope we agree something's getting kicked, because 3 million's high, but, the question is what, and I just don't know that I have enough information to say one way or the other how I feel.
Do we ever speak to the police chief about this?
No.
I think we should speak to him about it.
Okay.
Do we know if they did an air quality study
Inside.
to determine whether or not it's not in compliance? That's why they need the upgrade?
I don't know, there's no backup.
Well, what I've been told up there is that, about that facility, is they have to change the filter a lot more often right now because, the HVAC is too small, can't handle it. And so the count of lead in the air is too high. So we're actually spending more money to change the filter more often. And we have to shut down the facility while it pens for that replacement. And there's opportunity, let's say, to make that more of a profit center.
Huh.
If we're able to rent it out after our agreements with the current expire in 26, because we would be able to rent the facility and use it more to other departments.
Other
So
PBA.
we won't be able to get any additional income until 26.
Right.
And
But
every,
they want us
But if the lead
money.
level's high, I
No,
think
no,
you're right, I
no,
think
no,
you're right,
find
I
out.
think you have to need,
I
we need
think
to know
you
that.
need to know whether, I mean, if it's out of compliance because of the lead level, and
Yeah.
that's OSHA.
And that's why we need more information on that.
That's not something.
And when
we
is it?
wanna mess
When is
around
it?
with.
It's been kicked down, if we move this year, a couple years out, maybe what they need is even more than 500,000. You know what I mean, prices have gone up in a couple years, I don't know, it's just a.
Yeah, you would have to zero in on the cost
Yeah.
a little bit more, and this does include the roof also,
Right.
which I know was repaired, but the HVAC takes up most of the roof, so if you're doing it, it would be a good time to replace.
You're not gonna put
Yeah, but the roof
a
is
new
been done.
HVAC on an old roof.
hasn't the roof been done already?
Not fully.
It was a patch, a big patch, but a patch.
And when is everybody's, contracts up with them?
The consortium is up in 26.
And are we guaranteed that they're gonna stay with us, or they're gonna move on somewhere else?
It's 8 other towns, it's us and 8
I
towns.
think 7, I think we're still short 1 from
Okay.
the original.
Because when we were doing projects there, I mean, I told Steve already, when we were doing the project in the beginning there, and that's when Gary was here as the interim, and we sat down and talked to all the mayors, and right away, one of the mayors decided that they were gonna put a pistol range in their community. Everybody with us, they decided, oh, we'll go there.
Yeah.
So there's no loyalty.
Yeah, I see that. But,
So
Which is
we,
why
we,
you would wanna improve, do the improvements prior to getting people to.
yeah, if it's right before the renewal, we could spend the money and then everybody
Right.
just say later.
but we have to see if it
That's
really
why I
needs to be done.
wanted to see what the terms of their current agreement are too. I mean,
They give $500 a year toward capital.
that's it?
That's it?
That's it.
Oh,
That's
man,
the current
I know.
agreement.
that's it.
I
Wow.
wonder why they
I think we have to figure out if there's a air quality problem there.
Oh,
Yeah, first.
And I like to hear this from
But
the
they
chief,
also pay toward the operating expense.
oh, okay.
but that's not much.
Right.
How much roof space is up there when you take out, right, you put the new system in? is there a possibility to add solar to that site?
Right.
So that maybe there's grant money available, that when you put the solar, you can say the roof improvements are due to the solar, and then you get, and you offset the overall cost.
It's definitely a good idea to explore, like,
And then the other thing is, if the solar is able to power that site, you reduce the utility cost, so you rob a Peter to pay Paul.
I think we need a little bit more information on what's going on.
But again, it all comes down to if it's not safe.
Right,
then
yeah,
we're
if it's
gonna
not safe, it has
If
to be
it's not
done
safe,
immediately.
we gotta do it.
Yeah.
But
So-
if it's a matter of, our PM has to go every quarter to replace filters, and that gives us the short term to get someplace where we can do a bigger project that we
Right.
might be able to offset with money.
Yeah, we should
Right.
first bring in somebody from the
Yeah, 'cause
television,
if we can postpone it a little
the
bit
air,
so we can
quality of air is good.
investigate what you're
Yeah. I mean,
proposing, maybe we can get some money somewhere else.
I don't know if this can work or not, because I'm new here. But, you say that the contracts for the current clients are up in 2026, is that correct?
Right.
So if we go get an air quality survey, or whatever the technical term is for it, and then we go to these people and say, listen, we're gonna build you this facility, and we're gonna put money away every year between now and then to offset the total cost of this roof and HVAC project. If you sign back up with us for another 4 years, that way we know we have our consortium.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because then,
We know that they're already committed to us and they can't leave.
Right.
yes.
And now we have time to put money aside. Can we do that? I mean, is that allowed or not? I don't know.
I don't see why not.
I don't know what you can and
It's
can't
kind of
do.
the- It's kind of what we're gonna do, like, why,
So-
we can spend the money today to fix it, and then next year they're like, bye.
Right, but we
You
don't
know?
have to spend the money now to do it.
Correct,
Just a
I
thought.
think we have to get more information.
yeah.
It's like playing poker.
There's a couple moving parts there.
if you all want, I'll meet with PD and have them put together a full-blown presentation on this.
With the current estimate of things too.
Just an idea.
I mean, they can't commit to us that they're gonna, everybody that is here now is gonna stay with us,
Right,
but they could have a general feeling of what's, you know.
Yeah.
I know everybody's happy, all the people that have been part of this
yeah.
consortium, they're very happy, they like the
So
area
what
in
would
the
be
front,
the average cost for the towns using a range somewhere?
they go to this county.
They go to the county, so
And the
it's more of a
county-
convenience for them than a
Well, the
state.
county is, they can't get the space fast enough like they want. That's,
Then they
that's
go
one
where?
good thing we have in our,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then where would they go if it wasn't with us?
oh my God, where's the other place?
Ridgewood?
No. I forgot where it is. But everybody, you know, we only lost one town, and everybody else is happy. We speak to the police.
The only reason I ask is I wonder what their fees would be somewhere else. That's why I asked.
We could add that in too.
Yeah, 'cause, you know, PBA is different than than private people, public places.
Maybe we should ask Drew, he might know.
Oh, that's, yeah, they know.
One of the family guys.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think we have to talk a little bit more. I think what we have to do is we have to bring in the police to talk to them about that. We have to question the shed, what's going on with that, what do you need it for, why?
No, I think that's done.
No.
Or you just don't wanna do it?
I think that's dead.
Oh, okay, all right. And then we have to talk to the DBW.
Okay.
okay.
So where are you?
So without DPWs, 400,000 in additions, we're at 3 million roughly.
And that's where you wanna be.
No.
No,
I
he
was
wants to be
hoping
at 2.
We wanna be
I was
down
hoping
more.
2. It doesn't look like 2 is gonna be possible, if I'm just being honest with myself. There's a pathway to 2.5 if we push the roof one more year.
Okay.
Which, you know, again, could go a long way for us. Again, we're looking at bonding a very high amount in 2026 compared to previous, more than double.
That's actually a question I had, like, when you look at the outer years, we're all focused on 2025. You know, there's a big number sitting out there in 2026 for another fire truck,
Right,
1.4 million.
Yeah, so I just don't.
Don't even go there with that one.
Yeah, I just don't think that,
Andy?
yeah,
I don't think it's quite time to even discuss that yet.
No, just because, you know, Mike's trying to get to a number, and he wants to keep it to 2.5, whatever. If we're kind of sure that those next couple of years, there's not gonna be that huge expenditure that's gonna
We read
get
that.
you there,
And
then we might be able to get to his goal, but if you have that one sitting there on the spreadsheet, so that's why.
Yeah, I don't
Well,
see how that's possible, but
Right.
we'll have that debate when the time comes.
I agree.
Any events.
I agree.
But the way that I think
But
about
then
it
again,
is
we have the eraser, so.
every dollar we spend in capital is just another payment that we have to make, right? So, it's just fund balance that we're eating away at every year at this point, I think, as the debt service increases, so. So it's not bad, we cut quite a lot out in one night,
When would you be looking for a presentation from the police?
Soon.
The next,
yeah,
But
I mean, our next regular meeting is the 13th.
is it the 13th?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are you, everybody here?
perfect,
Are
yeah.
you here? Everybody
Ryan?
here? Yeah, I mean, I'd rather get them in here, and and then you know, tomorrow talk to the, Board of Health.
Okay. I think the 13th seems reasonable.
Yeah, just make sure the agenda's nice and full.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah, I've heard people.
Madam,
no problem,
We'll try.
please,
no problem.
we'll make it work your while.
If they, I mean, is it, not customary that they could get us the numbers sooner than that, if they had them, and then give you a presentation, just so we had them in advance, or is that not customary?
Yeah, I mean, whatever we can pull together as soon as
Okay.
possible, we'll share it out.
Yeah.
And then, you know, if things come back and we don't think it's necessary.
Just so if there's questions, maybe we can address them in advance.
Yeah.
And then they don't have, then they can
What would
have
you
all.
do?
Yeah, as we pull
Till
things
10 o'clock
together,
Friday?
we'll
Is that
definitely
right?
share it out.
Or you not available?
Thank you.
You look
I
at all
didn't
the
wanna
stuff.
put them on the spot if it was, you know.
I just say a couple of general words on the capital program. So it used to be, people would question, you know, what's the right number for capital? And, you know, when I first got into my CFO, experience, I used to think, oh, the lower the better, you know, everything you can absorb into operating would be best. But then as time progressed, I really was educated in terms of why capital programs are in existence. That for road programs, for instance, okay, some heavy dollars that are being spent. Even if you had $700,000 that you're willing to take out of fund balance or get from your taxpayers, it's not fair to the existing taxpayers who might not be living here by the time that bond gets paid out. So it makes sense for certain expenses that are long-term to be spread out over time, so that, number one, your current taxpayers aren't getting hit, you know, all at once, but some of them might not even be here to have benefited from 20 years worth of roads or whatever it is. So yes, in as much as it would be great to have no debt, it really makes sense to have some debt. The state does allow for up to 3.5% of your assessed value in bonds. We are nowhere near that. We're at like 0.6%. So technically, we'd be authorized to do much larger, you know, bonds and whatnot. And I'm not recommending that at all. But just perspective-wise, where we are in terms of what, you know, we could do. The other thing too is, Mike had mentioned, so right now we have two bond issues out, 2014 and 2020. Historically, we've been bonding like every 6 years or so. So that's why we're anticipating come 2026. And the way you look at it is, okay, we have 2014 and then 2020. When the 2014 falls off, that's when the 2026 is going to come on. So you minimally like to, you know, try to keep it as smooth as you can. But to the extent that we are increasing, you know, our needs, it will drive up the bond and interest payments, you know, in the future. So for perspective, the original 2014 bond for general capital was $4.5 million. And then the 2020 issue was, just about 7 million. So we're guaranteed that there's gonna be increases in terms of the 2026, setting us on a higher, projection. The 2020, when that comes due, that is higher already, so, who knows, maybe we could bring it down at that point, but just a little history on what we have.
Katie, are you all right with everything that we've decided so far?
Katie?
Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Are you all right with everything we've done so far and how we're gonna go back and ask
Yeah.
them to help us with everything? You good?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Okay,
Yep.
great, thanks.
So Saturday?
Anything else you have to say?
No, everyone okay with this format? I mean, last year we went line by line, I thought maybe this would just be a little bit easier.
Okay.
We'll see everybody Saturday, February 3rd
What do you mean?
at 8:30.
February 3rd is, oh my God.
Yes,
Saturday.
Saturday, this Saturday,
Oh,
For operating.
that's good
for
timing.
operating, my friend.
Should we bring breakfast?
Sure, you buying?
We'll take it out of my budget.
I will.
Did last year.
Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mike, second by Andy, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?